And hello good people of the internet, it is I, Tommy Kelly, and this is Adventures in Woo Woo. And in this episode I want to talk a bit about the whole idea of asking or thinking, is it okay to ... do whatever in magic, particularly in chaos magic. Now I get a lot of emails, not a tremendous amount of emails, like it's not a huge task or anything, I'm not that popular, but I do get a number of emails, as you can imagine, with people asking different questions. And apart from what is the price of the fixer, which is by far the most asked question I've ever been asked in my life, one of the more popular questions is it okay and then something? And my response is always kind of as friendly as I can be, is that try it and see what happens. And I know that's not the response people want. Like, they want to be told magic is safe and that you can do it and you'll be fine. And the thing is, magic isn't safe. Living isn't safe. Nothing is safe. And if you're doing stuff that's going to, you're trying to affect reality, if that's your idea, if that's what you think magic is, and on a lot of days that's what I think magic is, then doing stuff that is going to change the outside world or influence other people or in some way attract something to you or banish something from you or give you some sort of insight, in some way fucking around with the matrix, then that's not safe. And but conversely, I have to say, like when people talk about huge kind of backfire from doing magic and like things blowing up in their faces and all that, I have to say I've never really experienced something like that. At least, I mean, obviously I've had terrible times and days when everything went wrong and stuff like that. And I could definitely, if I wanted to, because I could blame that on, some sort of magic thing or a curse or, I don't know, something backfired. But I don't, because I don't feel it's direct, it's linked directly to anything I'm doing. And I've never had the kind of money sigil or money working that then a relative died and that's how I got the money, which is one of the big examples that people use about why they won't do magic, because they're afraid that something bad is going to happen. Which brings me a bit to the fixer, which is kind of the whole point of the fixer is to be okay with that kind of sentiment, in that you're willing to do or put up with or whatever is to get what you want. You're willing to pay the price for what it is. And so that's kind of, in a sense, my response to what is the price of magic is the same as what is the price of the fixer is. It all depends on what you're doing. If you are doing a sigil to get more money, then you'll have to pay the price of maybe that'll show up as a job, or maybe that'll show up as some sort of work, or maybe it won't. It's like you can't know in advance. Of course, you can make stipulations and you can make reasonings and you can kind of delineate around it and you can try to make it as coherent and concise as possible, and you should. But ultimately, it's going to come the way it's going to come, and the more kind of you try to put it into one thing, or the more you try to demand that it comes in a particular way, the less likely it is to happen, I feel, because you have to give it as much as a chance to emerge from wherever it emerges, in the same way as exactly the same thing as creativity, because magic equals art equals magic equals art. That the more you try to demand that an idea conform to what you want the idea to be, the less you are, I can only speak for myself, the less I am successful in making a good idea. But once I kind of let that go and allow the idea to be what the idea wants to be, greatness happens, or at least greatness in my eyes, or it allows me to bring an idea that I wouldn't have had I tried to pigeonhole it or hammer it into something that I wanted it to be, rather than just kind of, in a sense, allowing it to descend from idea space. So I think that about magic as well. But I'm kind of going off my point a wee bit here, in that people say, is it okay to do? And my response being, try it and see what happens. And that's definitely, I get that from Advanced Magic for Beginners by Alan Chapman and other people. Like, chaos magic is a hands-on, do the thing and see what happens. Depending on who you kind of follow or who you look at, there might be some kind of risk blowback, or they'll talk about stuff like that. Or Gordon Might says, magic always works but happens in the most dickish way possible. I'm not sure if that's originally his quote, but I definitely have heard him say it. And I understand that, but I think it's more, it'll take the line of least resistance, which is kind of the worry, I suppose, that people, the least resistance if you need money is that your auntie dies. But I mean, how powerful a magician do you think you are by doing a few squiggles on a piece of paper the very first time you've ever done magic, that you can then kill your auntie? You have to keep a perspective of who you are and what you're capable of doing. But what I would suggest is, because I think the last one was, is it okay to burn a sigil? And Kurtian's, yeah, we'll try it and see what happens. And if you burn it and you get your result quicker, faster, and more the way you wanted it, then do that again and see what happens. But if it doesn't, then maybe not, burn the sigil. And me burning a sigil might have a very different effect than you burning the sigil. So you have to find out your own kind of practical way of doing your own magic, which is the whole point of chaos magic. The subjective thing that you bring as much, that you bring all of it to the game. And so if you're going around asking what other people are doing, you're kind of going to miss your part of it, your element. It's kind of, I suppose, similar to when you message artists or whatever and go, what pen do you use, or what brush you use, or what ink what you use, and to kind of think that that's where the magic is, in the art. That if you can find out who, what Mike Oeming's Clip Studio brush setting is, then that you can draw exactly like Mike Oeming, or at least capture a bit of that thing. While there is definitely an element to art that is the tools, it's not really the full picture. You kind of have, it's the flourish, it's the end bit, it's the bit that, and do you really want to draw like Mike Oeming? Do you really want to do magic the way other people do it? I suppose you do if it's successful, and you have that whole thing of cover bands and people, certainly wanting to be mimics of people they admire and stuff like that. And I have done videos before where I've explained that I too have done that, and I assume I still do in many different ways, but it's only after a period of time that you recognize it. But it's just my kind of trust, if you'll allow my word, of this video is to become a bit more experimental with your stuff. And if you're afraid of something really bad happening, then start small. Do your sigils or whatever you're working with. Sigils just because that's mostly the thing I use, I suppose. But candle magic or incense or intention or visualizations, or goetic circles with the triangle of manifestation, or your Abramelins, whatever you're doing. Maybe don't do it with Abramelin or the Goetia. I take that back. They have their own rules. But say you're doing a sigil or candle magic, whatever. Do it for something small. Do it for a happy accident. And maybe you don't want to use the word accident in the sense, so a happy incident or a happy conversation or a lucky moment or something that's very unlikely to backfire. And say that if it involves someone else, in a sense taking something from someone else. Say you're doing a sigil to get a job and there's two people up for the job, one of them being you, and you really want it. I say go for it without, in the fixer sense, and be willing to pay the price. But you could also go that I get the job and everyone is happy. It works out well for everyone. If you want to put that kind of qualification on it. But then burn it, or throw it in a river, or flush down a toilet, or freeze it. Try all these different things. If you're trying to banish something or stall something, freeze it. If you're trying to get rid of something, throw it to the wind. If you want something to get more flow in your life, make the sigil, put it into a paper boat, let it flow down a river. Of course, we have kind of littering laws and stuff like that, so be cognizant of all of these type of things as well. But try them and see what happens. Then write it down, in your diary, so the next time. Oh, the paper boat down the River Dee worked perfectly for me. And then didn't the second time. So what's the difference? What's the different thing? And then to have an idea around what Alan Chapman talks about in Advanced Magic for Beginners, though, that if you have the sigil, and you decide this week that the sigil means a happy occasion, next week decide that exactly the same sigil means something else. And so you haven't created anything new, you haven't gone through, the alphabet where you cross off the repeating numbers or any of that stuff. You've just decided that this glyph now means something else. And see what happens. See if you get the result, the same result. See if you don't get the same result. See if there's kind of cross wires. Or maybe nothing happens. And then go, well, that's interesting. Now I've learned a bit about how magic works and operates within my scope of things. So what I'm basically saying is it okay? For the most part, I would say it is okay to experiment, and I would encourage you to experiment, because the best art comes from experimentation rather than mimicry or slavishly kind of following rules because you're afraid something's going to go wrong. The fun bit is in the kind of dangerous territory. And remember, as I said at the very beginning, that if you're getting into magic or art or anything, in the hope that you're going to be totally safe, then I would suggest it's not for you, because it's definitely not safe, and it's designed not to be safe. It shouldn't be safe. It's designed to cause massive change in your life. And that's what we're here for. This is why we're doing it. This is why we're creating stuff. This is why we're doing the magic. This is because it's like when we're talking about at the minute with the pandemic and going back to normal, and we go, well, no, we don't want to go back to normal, because the normal wasn't really working. We want big change. We want massive things. We just want it to be good change and positive change. So is magic, is it safe to do any of these things? Probably not, but you should definitely try them. And if you're scared, start small, baby steps. Do things that are the least likely to backfire. Don't ask for £1 million if your auntie has a casual £1 million knocking about that she said she'd give you when she dies. So, good people of the internet, be kind, be experimental, be creative, be bold, be courageous, and be well, and may our best days be ahead.